Oh,
All
man.
right, we're recording now. All right, we're gonna go. We're about to go.
All right.
Hold
All
on.
right, guys, whoever's listening on this Real Estate Sales Solutions Facebook page, you're in for a treat for sure. I mean, if nothing more, we get to crack on Jeff Quintin and Scott, in New Jersey. And they're the easiest targets to mess with. So
We're not live yet. We're not live yet. Hold on.
Okay, well, good. Get me on live then. Well,
but I guess people will still see this. Let's see. Share to a group.
Abe's the greatest at having no clue when this thing goes live and not goes live. So if you're listening to us live, it's going to be fun.
It's preparing. Hold on, it's preparing. I still don't have it.
Tech savvy. He runs a technology group and he's tech savvy.
I think this is just part of the process. The part of the process is the technical challenges. All right, so now I know that we are for sure live, and if there was a little bit of delay, hopefully you found some humor in watching us screw things up. But I was trying to say, that this is going to be one of those Facebook Lives that'll probably be very entertaining. And the main reason is because Abe and I actually dominate Jeff and Scott in so many different things. So they're easy targets where we can bust on them on so many things, especially tennis and golf and whatnot. So if we slip some of those things in, just understand that's personal relationship. So
basketball across the board.
Basketball,
everything.
You name it.
For sure, basketball. Yeah, for sure. White boy cannot jump.
Abe, why don't you go ahead and kind of just throw us a little intro as to what we're going to talk about, so everybody, I know we know what we're going to talk about, but so the audience knows, kind of the direction we're going in, and let's just go out and see what nuggets we can dig out of each other through this.
Have a little fun.
Like a little mastermind here.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for getting on, and Jeff, Scott, great to have you guys. I know it's going to be fun. So today it's going to be more of a listing theme type of webinar. We're going to talk about efficient techniques, strategies to pretty much get mass listings, get a bunch of listings. And then with that, we're going to talk about, leveraging your time, delegation, automation, dive into Contact Junkie a little bit. I know you guys.
Let's make sure that.
What's that? and basically dive into why do some agents in the same amount of time are able to take 20, 25, 30 listings a month, while other agents can work the same number of hours or just as hard, and I'll do that in quotes, and only get a handful of listings. So what's different between the two? And just want to kind of dive in and pick all your brains on this and see what you guys think.
Yeah. Let me say one thing, and Jeff and I have known each other so long. I think I think we will agree on this. Is one thing about Jeff and I, and is that we, from an early point on, Jeff, I think you and I really focused on designing the life we wanted to live, and then figure out how to build an operation around it. In other words, we want to do a big business, but we also want to make sure that we have some time to have a big life. And that big life could mean, you going out of the country surfing, or you going, I think you do a lot of skiing. I think you do a ski trip once a year with your boys. I mean, your friends, and all of those things are happening in your life at the same time that you're building a pretty impressive business. So the reason I bring this up is this point. Early on, at least I can say for myself, and I believe Jeff would agree, we made a decision that we were going to enjoy life, and we're going to build a big operation, not like most people are doing. And I'm going to build a big operation and try to figure out how to fit life in. I think it starts there. What do you think on that, Jeff?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely a decision that was made, and it still is today. And using the leverage, I think that's one thing that I learned from you along the way, and I think we've together, is how do we continue to do what we do, but also start leveraging other items and other things. I mean, just in the beginning when we talked about with email drip campaigns, oh my God, that was amazing how it came out. But while we were sitting there calling and having conversations with people every day, prospecting and lead generating, we had this other thing running in the background, so that it was teeing up and giving us notifications and giving us leads where we could go skiing or surfing or tennis or whatever. And then all of a sudden you're getting notifications to be more efficient. We never let our foot off the gas until today. of doing all the basic stuff. We've just incorporated a little bit of leverage to build a bigger business and to be able to have that lifestyle for sure.
Yeah. You know, so one of the things that I hear you saying is, and of course you're going to say this, is like, we figured out the core, like what the core strategies for building a big business, getting a lot of listings. A lot of that revolves around our history with prospecting, but then we constantly layered on enhancements to actually make our prospecting more efficient. So early on, we focused on return on time versus return on investment. Like, we have 60 minutes. What's the most return I can get out of these 60 minutes? And in order to do that, let's just say we're going to be physically prospecting for an hour, whereas there's something else we could be running in the background that while we're prospecting for that hour, it's also working for us during that hour and feeding us additional opportunities. And in the early days, it was drip campaigns, right? I mean, I got a call today, and the guy says, man, I don't know how I got in your database. I've been getting emails from you for years. I'm down in Myrtle Beach right now. I'm looking over the ocean front. Last week, I was just reading your email about the hurricane. I'm going to be selling. Can you come over and list the property? I mean, it was basically that conversation.
Yeah, that happens all the time. Yeah, that's all the time. And talk about leverage of, I mean, even going back further before that whole email thing, this is one. You know, what we did is we used to have our own ISA, which was for me was my mom, or a virtual assistant, which was a hammer, where someone physically would come in the office, and we'd have leads like this, paper leads, just like this. Yeah. Give them a stack, right? Here's a stack of leads, and say, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I need you to dial through every single phone number and all these leads, and then as the people answer, you mark a little note, and then make the pile of those, and then just give me back all the people that are home. That was our hammer. That was our ISA. Because we had somebody actually dialing. That was our mojo. That was our auto dialer. It was a hammer.
I forgot all about that. Yeah, the hammer. I remember having one of my kids' hammer.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember she went home one time. It was Morgan, my oldest daughter. She went home one time, and mom asked her what she had done, or what she did during the day, or there was a conversation about what she did. And then her mom got mad at me because she was saying, "You're teaching her how to prank call people?"
Yeah. I mean,
I wasn't doing that.
I'd have someone else in a different location and give them a whole list and say, dial through that list, and then just make notes, make a circle next to who's home, and fax them to me. And I'd get them off the fax machine. I would just dial, and then I would just dial people that are there. But the point is designing a lifestyle, but also having that leverage of being able to get to people quicker and faster than we would ever be able to have done before, or have the opportunities to see that. We got to that early on.
Yeah, that's a great one. So that falls right into, if you have 1 hour, and at that point, we probably use the rule of thumb. If we were single dialing, it was 10 contacts per hour. That'd be a rule of thumb, right?
Right.
Well, if we were single dialing and we could make 10 contacts an hour, we figured out that we could single dial and make, say, 17 contacts per an hour if we had a hammer, right? And that's what's important. It's like sometimes if you want to get more out of the same time or less time, you actually have to slow down and look how you're using your time, and then optimize that. Figure out, brainstorm, what could you do to get a little bit more out of the same amount of minutes?
Let me pop in for a second. So you guys out there listening, the one common theme you're going to notice is we never stop calling, right? So we never look for automation or for something to replace the core thing that gets us business. So it's always, how do we enhance it, right? So we don't stop calling. It's just, how can we make more contacts per hour without giving up the actual making a phone call? So that's important, because a lot of times people say, well, automation doesn't work, or this doesn't work, because they're looking for a replacement to what actually does work, which is calling, as opposed to looking for an enhancement. Just want to kind of throw that in there.
Yeah, it's a good one. And let's throw the word out. Optimization, right? Automation is a way to optimize. Mm-hmm. But optimization, what Jeff said in the back days, we were optimizing. Like, we weren't using automation. Right. We're still using physical human beings to do this. Yeah. And so I would challenge everybody that's listening is to look at everything that you do during the day in blocks of time and blocks of, say, 1 hour task, and then ask yourself, what could I do to optimize that task? How could I do the same in less time or do more in the same time? We should all be doing that. I mean, Jeff and I and Scott, you, we should all do that tomorrow. You know, we should all be looking at this. And about every 90 days, about once a quarter, we should probably go through that process.
Yeah, 100%.
So let's fast forward a little bit, right? So you guys got into, because I remember the first Infusion Con we went to, right? Yeah. We got into Infusionsoft and started using the drip campaign, email campaign. So then it started evolving, right? What kind of walk me through to what you started doing after that? So you got your email campaigns out there, is dripping on people are calling you back, you're still making calls. Now, because I've had some people ask, like, how do VAs come into play, right? How do you hire an admin? When do you hire admin? How do you hire an ISA? At what point do you start leveraging these other things out there to actually be able to optimize even more? Like Jeff, when did you start doing it?
You know, we've had VAs, I guess, I don't know, probably for a long, I don't know, probably a good 5 years now, maybe, for, I guess, when we got the first one, 5 or 6 years. And then ultimately, maybe not just a virtual assistant. I always had assistants of some sort. Could have been outsourced as well, just not, in the Philippines or offshore, if you will. But I'd say probably in the last 5 years, we've really, really enhanced that a bunch. If it doesn't need somebody, it has to be physically in that location, then we'll go ahead and outsource them that way. Right now, we currently have 4. And 2 of them probably do anywhere between 2,000 and 3,000 outbound type of text messages or some sort of in the background type of prospecting through emails, Messenger, Facebook Messenger, text messaging direct to our database and so forth. So we have that continually always going on just in the background.
In the background, yeah.
When it comes to the question, like when do you start it? How do you even come up to that conclusion? I think the challenge with assistants and virtual assistants I see in coaching agents is that an agent can clearly see how having somebody to assist them and take away those tasks that are income servicing tasks or tasks that could be that anybody can do. Like, they see that as a true opportunity to have somebody else doing that stuff. But the opportunity is not hiring somebody to do things for you. That's only part of the equation. Hire somebody to do something for you. So the rest of that equation or that formula is, so I can then have another 3 hours of free time.
Right.
So I'm going to hire this person to do this work, which gives me an extra 2 hours in my day. The formula is still not over. Then you have to figure out of those 2 hours, what am I going to do with those 2 hours? What is the return I'm going to get on those 2 hours? And is there a spread between the return I get and the expense that I incur? And if there's a profit, then do it. The challenge is people hire somebody to free them up for 2 hours. Those 2 hours are never reinvested in income generating activities. Therefore, there is no return and it's nothing more than an expense. So if you run yourself through that formula, and at the end of that equation, it equals profit, then hire somebody.
Gotcha.
Means you have to know your numbers, right, Craig?
Scott, you have to know your numbers.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're right, Scott.
That's why hiring an assistant, for me, I know that whatever I make, I have to make sure that I am providing that specific number, if not more, to Jeff, so that it's not an expense, right? It's an investment.
It's an investment. Yeah, I think that's one of the best things, Scott, that you could say is, like, when you're hiring somebody to just do stuff for you, then usually we calculate that decision based on how much is it going to cost. But if you go through the whole formula and you figure out what the return's going to be by hiring somebody, then at that point you're like, wow, this is a great investment. Where else can I make this type of return on my money?
Yep, absolutely. And then that's how you get 2 agents spending the same amount of time at work. One can take 30 listings and one can take 3. they're freeing up their time. They're reinvesting it in what can generate the most amount of business for them.
Yeah.
It's all about efficiency,
Gotcha.
isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Every time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're going to dive into contact junkie here a little bit, but what are you guys doing? Greg, I know pretty much everything you're doing, but the audience out there doesn't know, like, what are you doing nowadays as far as, automation to be able to optimize more and more? I know you've got a whole VA team that you use.
Yeah.
You don't use them in the same way as Jeff and Scott do in making a lot of outbound calls, but how are you using your VAs to be able to optimize and grow?
I've got in the area of listings and lead generation, I'm really focused on using VAs to enhance the amount of touches and the quality of the touches to our database. So, I might use, I'm a big Real Geeks user, so making sure that everyone in my database is set up on a sold search. If I know that they're a property owner, which I have that fairly well documented. And then on top of that, so they're getting a monthly report on, like almost like a CMA every single month on their particular property, their community. And then, and maybe run simultaneously with that, I've got them in Infusionsoft campaigns, and then I'll put them in, I'm using a company called HomeBot, which I think is fantastic right now. It's really a sexier kind of home valuation that also evaluates their Airbnb, potential as well as monitors their mortgage and all these things. So I'm using VAs to make sure that I have everybody in my database, which is thousands of people, in multiple different types of tools, getting information sent to them that has value in a proper sequence and with the right frequency. And it takes a team to manage thousands and thousands of people in a database and provide good value. I could provide great value to 10 people, maybe 100 people, maybe 500 people, maybe. But when we're talking about really scaling and going to the next level and getting listings, then your database needs to be in the thousands. And but the servicing can't suffer. You've got to be able to service thousands of people in your database the same way you could service 10 people. That's where I'm using my VAs to be able to do that.
Yeah, and I think we're doing that very effectively as a company. We've really increased the amount of touches that go out to people, and it's valuable stuff, right? So it's not just BS emails, and it's valuable stuff that they're getting.
Yeah, the old game I think before was, we'd always say, like, as our team and our company, it was always kind of like the number of people you talk to or the number of conversations you have per day on average will yield the number of deals that you do for the year, right? So if you want to do 24 deals, talk to 24 people. If you want to do 30 deals, right? And then as your contacts rose, that your more deals, however, then your contacts started to shrink because of your efficiency and who you're calling and your skills. Long story short, anymore, because of the people that you're calling, they're not answering the phone as much, right? So maybe it used to be for every 100 dials you made, you got 20. Now it's maybe 10. And I don't know, you guys might know the numbers, but it's what we're doing now is saying, okay, well, if our standard is still to make 30 contacts a day or have 30 real conversations, we're saying, okay, well, it's more than that. Why don't we now up it to 100 touches in every way? So 30 conversations. We're going to do another 30 text messages. We're going to do 30 messengers. We're going to do 30 voice broadcasts. We're going to do 30 emails. And now we're hitting them in all different angles and different ways and strategy and different messages into our database or whatever it may be. And just imagine now if we did that every single day, and let's say it was 100 contacts, conversations, some type of, and do that for ultimately 20 days, 20 working days, that's 2,000 touches times the year. I mean, that now all of a sudden, instead of making 6,000 contacts in a day, or excuse me, annually, we're actually doing, I don't know whatever that number would be, but it comes up maybe to 100,000. You know what I mean? Because you're just piling on. Just look at the numbers, right? So using all those different angles and medium, I guess you call it.
I heard something a couple years ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And I was on some marketing blog or marketing podcast or something. I was listening to one. And I heard somebody say on, I think it was a podcast, that one-click attribution is dead. And I didn't really even know what that meant. So I Googled one-click attribution. And one-click attribution is the meaning of that, for those that are listening and don't know, is like you send one thing out. Maybe you send a postcard, and that's your one way of delivering a message. Or you have an email drip, and that's your single source of dripping on your database. So that's one medium that you're using to drip on your database. That's what we call one-click attribution, that we're relying on one type of communication to produce a return. But because there's so much noise, and real estate agents have really got into the world of becoming marketing professionals more than real estate agents, or at least they think they're marketing professionals. You've got there's so much material going out, information overload. We're overwhelming databases, whether it's me only doing one postcard, but somebody else doing emails, and somebody else doing text, and somebody else doing Facebook. They're getting bombarded, right? Which means it's harder to gain attention when there's so much noise. Right. So what, Jeff, I hear you saying is like you upped your game. I know we upped our game as you did, is we're saying we've got to hit them from multiple channels to win their attention. We can't just do drip emails anymore. We have to have a drip email on the 15th that's coordinated with a CMA on the 1st, which is coordinated with a Facebook post on the 7th and the 21st, which is coordinated with the direct mail once a quarter, which is coordinated with a phone call every 60 days, and then a text message, every 72 days. Whatever, that 72 days that's not an exact number that I use, but you get the point. And that is the game today. So talking about using automation, that's the game.
That's the game, yeah.
That's the game.
You just made some people's heads explode. Because that sounds like a lot of stuff to do, right?
It is for somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I know how to do it. I know how to explain it to my staff, and that's their job.
Exactly.
Right. So it used to be.
We're building. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, we're in the process right now as well. Is in addition to all that is building our own custom real estate bot, like our own bot. You know what I mean? So it's going to just communicate in Messenger and Facebook, and like when they respond back, it's going to just have that. Yeah. Now we're not trying to take out the human part of it. We're just trying to take out more contacts, more touches, and getting further down.
More impressions.
Yeah. That's I think the game right now. I mean, from what we're seeing.
Yeah,
I think there's a ratio there. It requires more impressions to generate leads these days.
For sure, yeah. It used to be where, 3 times if someone heard your company's name or your name, they'd remember it, right? Then it went to 5, then it went to 7. Now it's up in the teens. I want to say, I think last number I saw was like 13, 14, 15, somewhere in that range, where it takes that many impressions for someone to remember you nowadays, whether you're a brand or whether you're a real estate agent, because there's just so much noise out there. Right?
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Like, and if I asked you guys, all 4 of you, or 3 of you, and I do this all the time with our team, like name 4 potato chip companies, right? Or I'd ask, how many potato chip companies can you name, right? So, you're gonna probably say Hers, Lay's. What are you gonna say? What else?
Pringles.
Ready?
If that's right. What else?
Pringles.
Charlie Chips.
They don't know nothing about Charlie Chips. They're from the South. They know nothing about that.
We make our own chips in the South.
Yeah. But basically what I'm saying is that, normally you could only remember maybe 3 to 4 brands, which means that means if you say, how many real estate agents do you know? They're only going to remember 3 to 4 real estate agents, maybe max. Right. And yet potato chip companies, there's hundreds. Go next time you're in the grocery store, look at all the different flavors. I mean, Sun Chips. Yeah, I don't know. You can just go on and on of all the different brands, looking at them, but the mind can only think or hold 3 to 4 max. Right. For the real estate agent, same thing.
Yeah. So we only have so much time to do so many things, and that's why leveraging different things like the Real Geeks, the HomeBot, the Infusionsoft, the VAs, making outbound text messaging, messenger messages. So if you actually can sit down and plan all this out, it's all doable. Whether you're a team of 1 agent or whether you're a team of 20 agents, it's all doable with automation and delegation nowadays, right? Mm-hmm. It's got to be done, right? Because people.
Well, Abe, I also think that technology is much easier to use now. So,
for sure, yeah.
You don't have to learn a new language or learn how to do a whole lot of different things to leverage the technology of today.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't know how to speak, like you don't need to know how to read code. It's like it's technologies
Yeah.
for dummies. I mean, I love it because I'd probably resist it more if it was too difficult.
Gotcha. So let's talk about Contact Junkie for a little bit, because I know, Jeff, you're a big user, and obviously Greg and I are big users in our business as well. Tell us, you and Scott, like, how are you guys using the system? Because I know the results you're getting are unbelievable. So tell us what you're doing out there with it, if you want to take a couple minutes.
Well, I think first it starts, with our goal, looking at the end in mind, or at least my intentions. My goal each day when I wake up in the morning is to think about, how do I drive back to the sales team 100 seller inbound leads a day, right? So first I start with that. The goal is 100 seller inbound leads, whether that is, I want to know what my home's worth, home valuation, or go fly a kite. At least it's a seller inbound conversation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to weed that through. So, so one is we start with, okay, we have to understand we need to get to people, and that's the overall goal. So we have Contact Junkie working where once we get an enormous amount of, let's say the VA is running text messages on one side, and then we verify that it's a real address or a real phone number and a real email address. Once they've raised their hand, we get a lot of those. Now we'll even put them through Contact Junkie to actually get them down through the funnel, kind of bubble up, if you will, or see where they are in that process. Then assign it to an agent as an opportunity for them to go as the lead. So we're doing that. We have all kinds of campaigns running in there, from for sale by owners to expires to just listed, just solds, communicating as recruiting for other agents in the real estate, community, just different campaigns running with them. We again, as a Real Geeks user as well, we're going into a Real Geeks site and we're pulling in, let's say the leads that are most active, say in the last 30 days, maybe there's 50 of those, or we'll go in and sort between the hot leads, and then we'll take them, put them through Junkie. The goal is just really, what we've noticed is too many of the bad leads are getting covered by the good ones. We need to now sift through and get those good leads to answer, get those good leads to come back around. We recently, about 2 weeks ago, put a whole bunch of our older leads through, buyer leads, like Zillow leads through, and I almost wanted to throw up, every single day this was going on, because we were getting 10 to 20 people a day raising their hand going, okay, yes, we bought, but then we'd go back and reverse engineer and look and say, well, who was this person that bought? How did we get them? Well, they were a Zillow lead that came in March of last year. And then we find out the agency, what they did, what the agent did, they put them in our CRM, Real Geeks, what their follow-up system was or whatever it was. We find out maybe they did or didn't. Next thing you know, they bought from someone else, and we go and find out what they bought, who they bought from, how much it was, and then calculate the commission lost, right? Like, if you ever really want to shoot yourself, go do that exercise. Yeah. But I can tell you that,
it was more than you probably made, right?
Yeah, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. Yeah, hundreds of transactions, millions of dollars lost. I mean, it's just incredible. So, what Scott and I have done is we can't let that happen. We need a system that, it's number one is it's capturing the lead, which we're good at getting that. Now, how do we retain that lead and communicate to them such by that when we do that, we get them and we know that they're real. So using Contact Junkie to do that and get them through all those multiple channels, that allows us to do. And we've had, incredible days where we'll have, 100 responses, 100 to 150 responses. We might have 4,000 people running through there at one time, through all the different campaigns, or we'll have, 500 text messages going out. We'll have 300 voicemails going out. We'll have, the emails going out. Like, I can look in the dashboard and see, Jesus, we have a machine running in the background.
Yeah.
So that's how we're using it. And it's really allowing us to find out who's ready right now. Yeah. By the way, we're using it for other things like campaigns for Facebook reviews and Zillow reviews and Google reviews, like other things to communicate the database, and, just dripping on people for just other parts of service and helping our business other than looking for that lead.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, one of the challenges is that I think everybody that's listening to this will agree that the length of time from lead capture to contract written has actually has broadened over the years, right? Instead of like the sign call, you get a call, 20 years ago from a sign, and we make a sale next week. Then, at some point we get a call and we make a sale in the next couple of months. Now we get a call and they may be 2-3 years out. Okay, so right now the length of time that it takes for somebody to go from capture to closing has increased. We should all just know that's a truth about our industry. No debate, it's a truth, okay?
Yeah.
On top of that, the technology is allowing us to get more leads than we've ever done before. So we have the ability to get more leads that then take more nurturing to get to the closing. So we already had a problem years ago with like being able to keep up with the follow-up with the amount of leads that we got a few years ago. But now we're getting more leads than we were a few years ago, and it requires more follow-up to get them to contract. There's no way that we can humanly, keep up. There's no way that we can just keep up with all that unless we do a couple things. Number one, we decrease the lead flow. That's one way that you can stay, you could keep up with the leads, is just dial your lead flow down. Well, who in the world wants to do that? Nobody. The other way you can do it is cherry pick your leads. And when you call them, if they don't call you back, then say screw them, declare they're dead or they weren't really serious. Or talk to them and say, well, which one of you, are you looking to write a contract within the next 7 to 14 days? And if they say no, then trash that lead. Yes, that's another way we can keep up. But how do we really scale and build a business and continue to grow if those are the ways that we're going to keep up? Contact Junkie's allowing Jeff, like he just said, or myself, to keep up with the lead flow and the duration of time that's required to nurture these people.
Yeah.
That's using automation.
Yeah.
Using automation.
Increasing the bandwidth.
Increasing bandwidth. Yeah. I don't do exactly what Jeff's doing. What I'm doing on a personal level is, I will get somebody will, I'll get a lead. They'll come in from the database and I'll give them a call and they don't pick up the phone like on my first call. Instead of me then saying, okay, I'm going to call this person back in a couple hours, I then put them in Contact Junkie, and then I'll have a campaign built for the next, say, 36 hours that I will, the Contact Junkie will go ahead and reach out, text and email them and whatnot. We'll try to communicate with them, over, maybe 8 times or 9 times in the next, say, 36 hours. So instead of me having to make all those attempts to finally get this person to answer their phone or to respond, I let Contact Junkie do all the heavy lifting, and then I just kind of enter back into the conversation when the people engage. And I had to do that in order to continue to grow my business, but not add more time, more hours worked.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I can actually work less hours and grow my business because of the usage of various technologies, not just Contact Junkie, all the technologies that I'm engaging with.
What you got
there, Greg,
Jeff?
I think one of the things that Contact Junkie is so great is that it is the agent's kryptonite, which has always been the follow-up.
Yeah.
So this is basically taking out the agent's kryptonite and allowing us as a team to follow up with these folks, because we know that sometimes the agent just doesn't do that.
Mm. Yeah,
that's
another great point. You don't say a lot, Scott, but and probably you can't talk a lot with Jeff and I on the on a video. But every time you say something, it's pretty damn smart, because I think of like poor lead follow-up or the lack of lead follow-up is the biggest loss of income for real estate agents.
For
and
sure.
You're right. That let's call that the kryptonite, and really it's a follow-up tool.
Yeah. So Scott's the brains in the operation and Jeff's the mouth.
Yeah,
That's right. Ralph Mouth. So remember this, Greg?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
7 days.
7-day lead folder, right?
Yeah.
So, ultimately sometimes that's the goal, is to get these contracts signed from these guys in the next 7 days. So right now, like these are the leads right now that I'm working on to get signed in the next 7 days, right? But these guys they're not calling me back.
Yeah.
Like I'm chasing them. At one point they said, yeah, I want to sell. Call me in mid-September, right? Or next week, or yes, I'm ready to go. But now I can't get them on the freaking phone.
Yeah.
Right.
And they might be busy, right?
Yeah.
Avoiding you.
No.
They might want to talk to you, but they're busy.
Yeah.
And so the more attempts you make to reach them, the higher the chances are you're going to reach them. It's just a numbers game.
So there's probably, I don't know, there's I don't know, maybe like, I don't know, maybe 8, 10, whatever it is, leads here. They're all going in junkie today.
Yeah.
It's going to chase them down. It's going to send out a text, an email, a voicemail, another email, another text, all within the next 3 or 4 days. Probably going to have about 10 sequences in there. And guess what's going to happen?
They're going to respond.
Probably in the next, between now and until they go in there in the next 2 hours or 4 hours or by tomorrow morning, they're going to respond back with a positive response. And I'm going to be able to respond back and then get the contract signed within the 7 days supposed to. Otherwise, I'm still chasing. And the problem is that as I'm chasing a lead that we can't get in touch with that says they're going to do something, then there's another pile of leads coming on top.
Right.
And we're still all prospecting. Next thing you know, you start to forget this one. And then when you forget this one, you drive by and you see a Remax sign.
Yeah.
Right? How many times does that happen?
Yeah, too many.
Yeah. So that's where we're seeing it too. Like you said, it's allowing us it's a chaser, right? I call it the chaser. And I have agents on our team going, yeah, I set a great appointment today or I talked to this great seller, but I can't get him back on the phone, or, okay, good. Let's put them in junkie for you. Let them go ahead and let junkie be our ISA and follow up until you get them.
I use that campaign all the time. When someone goes dark on me, I drop them in and they're going to respond.
They're going to respond.
They're going to respond. There's no question about it. And you know what? How many times do you get where they respond and apologize to you?
Oh, all the time.
After like the 8th message, man, Abe, I'm so sorry. I've just been slammed, blah, blah, blah. I'll call you later on today. And here's like every time. Here's
the magic in it. It's when you actually see when they respond, because it's automated, right? So you put them in there. You don't even know what they're getting. You don't know how many sequences. You don't know what's running. 2 days go by, and then all of a sudden they respond. You go back, look in the sequence order, the conversation. That's number 6 on the list. They've got 2 emails, 2 voicemails, 2 texts, and then finally they respond back. It's a positive response. You're like, holy crap! 6 times that they actually took them to actually respond, and it shows you. Whereas us humanly, we're never going to do it that much.
Zero chance
to do it in all different channels like that, at that frequency, with that consistency. We would have never done
that's the key.
We would have called them twice.
Absolutely. So the frequency, I think, is the most important thing, because we might call them 6, 7 times over a 3-week period, but that doesn't work. It's that frequency over a 2-day span of 8, 9 messages that gets them to respond almost every single time. So frequency is so important nowadays with all this noise. Yeah.
And that's what's cool about
Junkie also tells you the temperature of your client, right? So our agents now know the temperature of their buyers and their sellers, and then they can strategize accordingly based upon the responses that they're getting from the folks on Contact Junkie.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's so cool because we can say, all right, well, we put these people in a follow-up sequence, or we put all of our expires in there. We know it has, 8 different sequences, but on average, 4.3 times is when this person is going to respond back, right? Like we know it's going to take 4 different attempts in different ways to get this guy, or this is the most effective response, or this is the most effective campaign compared across all other campaigns. So it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's going. You know what it is? It's going back to that old conversion. Remember the old MIT or the old lead source, whatever it was done, that said, when is a sale made? It's made on between the 8th and 5th, between the 5th and 12th contact, right? And the percentage you see with agents, I mean, it drops off after 2 contacts, about 90%. People never call anybody else past twice, right? Mm-hmm. And then this allows us to really hone in that, and that rule is still there. That study between the 5th and 12th contact is when a sale is made, or an appointment set. That's what Junkie's allowing us to do.
Abe, here's something that just went off in my mind as Jeff's talking about this. So most leads are getting 8 to 10 contacts. Meaning you got 4 agents that are getting the lead, and each agent is calling them 2 times. Right. So the lead itself is getting at least 8 to 10 attempts from an agent to reach them. And we're in the past, the way that it's becoming, if you don't have technology to help you with this, then it's just the luck of the draw. If you're that agent, one of the 4 or 5 agents who makes those 2 contact attempts, it's just luck whether or not you're the one that gets them. But if all the other agents are making 2 attempts to reach them, and Jeff and I are making 10 attempts to reach them, they're going to see our name over and over and over and over and over again. And they're like, man, this guy, Jeff, he's on top of things.
Right.
And that's why Jeff gets a response. Hey, Jeff, thanks for reaching out to me, man. I am so sorry. I know you've tried multiple times to reach me. I've been slammed at work. I'm going to be available, though, Wednesday afternoon. Shoot me a call Wednesday afternoon, and we can talk about, getting this thing on the market. It's like, it's because they've seen Jeff's name so much. And I think subconsciously they appreciate all the effort and work that Jeff's putting in this. And they reward Jeff versus the one agent that hit them up 2 times, and that other agent, they forgot about that other agent.
Right.
That other agent's annoying to them. And it's the exact opposite of how we would think, right? We would think Jeff would be annoying because he actually did 8 attempts. But I think there's a switch that goes off in their minds where they say, this person's just looking for like a quick listing. This guy's annoying me, and that person's annoying me, and that person's annoying me. Forget them. This guy, Jeff's working his butt off. He really wants to talk to me. He must be trying to help me. He's hustling. He's the guy I want to work with. I think that all factors in. I have no scientific data or no data to back it up, but I really do believe, based on my experience and knowledge of the industry, that this is really a factor here.
I think we forget that ultimately they're looking for a salesman. I've had many people tell me the only reason I'm choosing you is because how aggressive you were.
100%.
You call me so many times. If you're willing to call me that many times, I think you're going to be willing to hustle and sell my home.
Yeah.
So we forget that they actually want a salesman. They don't want someone passive. All right. So any final thoughts? Wrap this up. Scott, you got anything else written down? You're giving us some gems.
No, I think, listen, the key to Contact Junkie and really maximizing its effectiveness is you have to be persistent with it, and you have to be really diligent in the campaigns you use. And how many times you want to hit them up. Like, as long as you have a really good plan and you're going to follow up with you leveraging Junkie, it's going to be a super amazing tool. But if you just want to throw it in and then it's just going to do all the work, well, there's 2 parts to that, right? And I think the reason why Jeff and I do such a great job with Junkie is that our campaigns are really hitting them at appropriate levels, and the message is always a good message.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tool that you use. You work. It's not a magic. It's not a pill that you take. It's a tool that you use.
And then and when you talk about a tool, you become addicted to this tool. It's almost like a pill, right? Because you see how it works, you become an actual junkie to it, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
Scott today, and I'm looking in our dashboard, and I'm like, man, we need more people in here. I need more responses. I need more responses today. I don't have enough.
I just added 300.
Yeah.
I added 300 in the time we did this.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Nice.
You know what I mean? Like, you needed more in here because I need to get my daily.
You gotta get your fix.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So, and here's the thing, like, when as Greg, you and I, not more you than me, but ultimately as we've grown, becoming from salespeople to entrepreneur and doing we're limited to our time, right?
Yeah.
Limited to our time to be able to actually prospect like we used to do and lead generate on the phone. I said this in our sales meeting today. I said, ultimately, I'm working on this business. I'm not prospecting, lead generating like I used to. However, I'm using technology. I'm using sources, still making probably somewhere between, 200 to 300 outbound contacts a day in other ways than physically talking, and generating 4 to 5, 6, 7 type of raising their hand leads back to me that I can then source out or whatever it may be every day. I can't tell you. I mean, just all different ways all day long. And I'm not physically actually prospecting. Now, I'm not saying that that's what everyone should do. Believe me, we put our time in to build our databases up, and we're working on the business. We run big organizations. But if you're limited to time or you want the leverage, and for very small cost with Contact Junkie, it's what's allowed us to do. We don't have an ISA, by the way. Like, everyone says ISA, inside sales. This has become our ISA. Our agents become their own ISA. right? Like if they want leverage in their own business, then Junkie's that, rather than having to go hire a physical person. Let this be the one that's going to chase them down and get them to raise their hand, and then with their sales skills, go close the deal. So that's how we look at it.
Yeah, I love how you constantly keep your pipeline jam full, Jeff.
He does that better than all of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Scott is like they're really crushing it on that level.
Yeah, I think it's more Scott than Jeff, but either way.
Yeah.
Well, when you have a goal to generate 100 seller inbound leads a day, you got to have a big pipeline and generate a big pipeline. You got to be continuing to feed them in the top, right, in all different ways. So that's just what my mind is thinking like.
Yeah, you guys are doing a great job, Jeff. Greg, final thoughts. What should the audience take away from this? I know we've given a lot.
That I'm an amazing golfer. I'll answer for him, and tennis player.
What? You stink at golf.
Greg froze.
The best golfer in this group is yours truly.
That is true. I think we might have lost Greg.
He's stunned. He gets upset.
I've never seen him at a loss for words.
Look at the picture.
Remember this, everybody. Cut the screenshot.
Yeah, we
All
should.
right, we'll wrap this up. If you guys have any questions out there, anything that you need, we're always available. Let us know. Too late, Jeff.
And Mr.
Hey, you guys have a great day. Thank you for your time.
Abe, thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Great talking to you guys.
Yeah,
Thanks, Abe. I appreciate your help. Yep.
All right, bye now.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.